yeah, it's color, it's pattern, it's fun. So yeah, I love seeing people play with and experiment with design, and it doesn't have to follow what the mainstream is doing.
And everybody's like,
Mhm.
oh, I want all of these things that I see in like all my Pinterest boards and on my, and it's like the expectations are here and the
Yeah.
budget's like here, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, we're like almost halfway through the 20s. Where do you see us going? Like, give us Megan's predictions on design for the rest of the decade. Hi guys, welcome back for another episode. We're going to jump right in today, and I'm going to defer mostly to Megan because we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to her heart, and frankly, I think she's an expert at. Today, we're talking design trends and all the fun stuff that goes along with how you should design your house, paint your house, style your house, and everything in between. So Megan is passionate about this. I just like pretty things, and I don't know anything about what should go into that. So Megan, you take it away. Tell us where we're going, and let's talk design for our new homes.
Yeah, I'm excited about this episode. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Like even when I was a small child, I was designing my rooms. I actually did interior design for real estate investors for a few years, back before 2020. So
Ooh.
I love this topic, and I just want to start by saying that the point of this episode is not to make anybody feel bad about having like outdated design trends. Trends come and go. You can follow them if you want.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think it's fun to keep up with the latest trends. Like, this is something that's creative for me. And with any creative field, you start to get bored doing and seeing the same thing over and over again. So that's what's really driving this trend cycle, is just the creative people behind it getting bored of, modern farmhouse shiplap. And you're like, okay, let's change it up. Let's do something a little bit different because I'm bored with it now. But that doesn't mean that
Okay.
if you have that in your home that you need to change it.
I have to admit, we went through a like farmhouse phase, and I have never
Mhm.
lived on a farm in my entire life. Um,
I did too. I had a farm. Yeah, we had like I went to Hobby Lobby and I got a whole bunch of like wire baskets and cotton
we had
blossoms
chicken
and
wire
magnolia
on the
leaf
wall.
wreaths. Yep.
Uh-huh. We had the farm fresh eggs sign, and I was like, what does this even
Uh-huh.
mean?
Yep.
And like I said, I have never lived on a farm. I have zero desire to live on a farm. I watched
Mm-mm.
a baby cow be born a couple weeks ago on at a buddy's house, and I'm like, yep, this is not for me. I'm good. So, but we did all of that, and it's
Yep.
so funny because it's kind of changed. My wife does all of our interior designing, decorating. I just figure out a way to pay for it, right? And so like when she started changing, I was like, what are we doing? Because like I live in the world of like, oh, it's done. Like we don't ever need to touch it again. And she's like, no, styles are changing. We need it. And
Yep.
now that it's out and we're changed it, I'm appreciative of that. So I will say,
Now you like it
I'll
better.
defer to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like the
Our
hold that white and gray had on us in the 20 teens was just so intense. And that was a
Oh
reaction
my
to
gosh.
like the old world Tuscan style before that, which was all like dark browns. So that's the
And
way design
wine
works.
grapes
It's like
as
pendulum.
wallpaper. Do you remember
What
that?
was
Do you
that?
remember like did y'all have like wine grapes as wallpaper?
Oh yeah, and you would put like the greenery and the fake grapes like on top of the
Yes.
cabinets, and like the
Yes.
little chili pepper oil bottles. You remember
Mhm.
those?
I think all of our moms in the 90s shopped from the same catalog.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. Like when I was a teenager and the old world Tuscan style was so popular, I thought back then,
Mm.
like, okay, this is a timeless style. It's based on a period in history. How can it go out
Yep.
of date if it's historic, right? And the thing is, the era and history that we like to draw from changes as time goes on. So instead of
Yep.
old world Tuscan, it becomes, 100-year-old farmhouse. And mid century modern was also really popular in the 20 teens. So I'd say follow the trends if you want. If it speaks to you and you like it and it's fun for you, go for it. If not, just pick things that you like. And yeah, there's no
Yep.
right or wrong answer when it comes to design. But
Oh, okay.
all of that being said, we have
But
some
before
trends
we
to
do
go over
that,
today.
before we get there, I have to ask you this question because I think
Huh?
it's important, and we didn't really talk about this ahead of time. I want, like, what are your feelings about HGTV? Because I have some very like deep felt feelings about like the HGTV movement in general. Um, I feel like like it's been more hurtful than it has been helpful.
Yeah, I'd say it's become more democratized now, design in general, not HGTV, but
Yep.
design in general, I feel like is more democratized now because of social media. So
Oh
now
yeah.
whatever your personal style is, you can find accounts that are designing in that style. You can get inspiration from that. Before that, when we mostly got our inspiration from HGTV or magazines or these really official sources, there was kind of
Mm-hmm.
this homogenized version of design.
Yep.
And if you like design, you watch HGTV, you get your style from those shows. And now I think that there's a lot more like micro designs and there's a lot more trends and accounts and stuff out there, inspiration out there that isn't dependent on one TV network.
Yeah, I think that's beneficial. I just think it's so hard because especially as we talk with buyers, right? And everybody's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I want all of these things that I see in like all my Pinterest boards and on my," and it's like the expectations are here and the
Yeah,
budget's like here, right? And that's where it's hard. It's like I want to give you a really great experience, but I also need you to understand like what you see there is not realistic. I mean, it
definitely.
might be
And
if you have the
it's the
money and the
same thing with
time.
model homes, honestly. Like model
Yeah.
homes are professionally designed. You might have a home that's in a $300,000 price point, but
Yep.
it's got a $4,000 couch and a $1,500 console. And like most people that are buying homes in that price range are not necessarily buying the furniture and decor that are in those models. So I do have a lot of photos today that I've saved to go along with the topics that we're talking about. Because with design,
Yeah.
especially, it's really hard for it to just be a verbal, auditory thing. Like you want to see photos of what it looks like. And a lot of the photos that I've saved are from beautiful, expensive homes. But that doesn't
Mm.
mean that you can't take inspiration from those photos and take the elements that spark something in you and make a more affordable version of that in your home. A new construction home is a blank slate. So
Yep.
you get to make with it what you will.
Yes, and it's the best blank slate ever because you don't know, like, you know, nobody else has done anything to it, right? It's the best, and a lot of that can be kind of depending on the builder, can be done in their design center, can be done, you know, after the fact. Like, so we've talked at length about all of those things before.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's the best blank slate. So let's start at the top and tell me, let's talk colors. Like, what colors are we talking that are like in? I think that's we very first episode we talked about the Pantone color of the year,
Mhm.
but like specifically, what colors are in for design? Are we grays? Are we neutrals? Are we, what do you think?
So warm neutrals are the thing that I'm seeing is the most popular right now. So
Mm,
it's kind of a reaction to the gray and white. At first, the gray and white felt very refreshing after all of the dark, heavy tones that we were used to. And over time, over a decade of that, it started to feel a little bit cold and stark. So we like the light and bright feeling that came with that movement, but we're implementing that in warmer tones.
mm,
So warm neutrals, cozy, but still light and bright. That's where it's at for the most part. That being said, moody interiors are also a thing. So you can actually see the room behind me here is painted in more of a
mhm.
moody tone. So we're also seeing that in like studies, in living rooms. We're seeing that in like smaller spaces where, okay, let's take an opportunity to go a little bit darker and create a cozy vibe.
Mhm.
Um, the wood tones that we're seeing that are popular right now are white oaks, and we're also seeing darker woods coming back into style.
Yeah.
So, medium tones and even dark woods like espresso, but nothing with red undertones.
No red
Everything.
undertones and no like hard paneling. Like, we're not back there yet. We're not.
I'm actually seeing some wood paneling
Really?
come back in. Yes. I don't have
Really?
any photos of
Okay.
it saved for today, but I'm seeing it come back. So some people are even doing like flooring on the walls because
Huh.
they're not really making paneling for walls anymore like that. So they're doing what they can to like, you know what, I like this style. I want to implement it. Here's what I'm doing. So yeah,
Awesome.
everything comes back eventually.
On the metal side, are we still like there's still a lot of like black in there, right? But I'm also seeing like,
Yeah.
for example, I see it in your background. Gold is back in.
Oh yeah, gold's been in for a while. So matte black and gold are probably the two that are reigning supreme right now. When I say gold, there's a lot of different variations within that. So there's like
Hmm.
unlacquered brass, there's antique gold, there's brushed gold, there's a lot of variation in that, but just these warm undertone metals are very popular. And we're even seeing chrome.
Really?
Especially when you pair chrome with like a darker wood. I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of that combination that can be really pretty. So, and you know, you can mix and match the metals too. You don't have to have the same metal throughout your whole house.
See, so that's interesting to me because I'm not a chrome fan. I would delete all like the chrome and the satin everywhere in our house. But so
Yeah.
okay, so question. So we can you said we can mix and match metals. What is that like? So does that mean in one room I can have multiple colors, or does it need to be
Yeah.
line of sight, or is it like how does that work? Because
Yeah,
I'm
even
always
in one
curious
room,
about
like
that.
for instance, these chairs behind me have a black, like matte black metal frame, and then I
Mm,
have the gold sconces. So you can
okay.
definitely mix and match. That's encouraged. It might be nice if you're doing like cabinet hardware to do the same cabinet hardware throughout the whole home, but again, it's not a die-hard rule that you have to
I
go by.
uh I walked a resale home it was probably a couple months ago, and I think we counted 5 different types of cabinet hardware in the kitchen. They were like it was like varying styles and colors. It was the weirdest thing. I was like,
Huh.
"Oh, what are we doing
I've
here?"
seen that where it's the same color, but maybe there's more of like a latch or a knob or a pull, but you keep it in the same color family. And I've seen that and I like it. It has more of like a vintage kitchen feel. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if I would go with 5 different colors, 5 different styles in one room. No.
It was odd. Like I said, I was like, I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay,
Yeah.
so stay in the kitchen. Talk to me about countertops because there was a season that like butcher block was what everybody, you
Yes.
remember that. It was like, hey, we got to have a butcher block island. Is butcher block in? Is butcher block out?
I think people are recognizing that butcher block is a very high maintenance countertop,
Hmm.
especially in a kitchen. I'm
Hmm.
actually contemplating doing a little bit of a laundry room refresh, and I might get a piece of butcher block for that just because I don't want to spend a ton of money. It is a very affordable countertop choice, and it's not going to get a ton of wear and tear in there. But the biggest trends that I'm seeing in countertops are going to be still like the white quartz that looks like marble, but
Hmm.
with the warmer undertones. Instead of the cool gray veining, we're seeing warm taupey gray veining. I'm also seeing like really bold granites with that same kind
Yep.
of cookies and cream, off white, and brown undertones. I'll
We
have a photo of it.
We were at the, I don't remember if I showed you, when we were at the builder show, so Megan and I
Mhm.
were at the International Builder Show a couple months ago, and there was, like, a deep green, like, it was like a white, and it had a deep green vein on the do you remember me showing you that?
I don't remember you
I'll ha
showing me that, but I'm not
I'll have
surprised
to
because green is very popular too.
I'll upload the photo so y'all can see it, but it was one of those things, like, it was beautiful, but I was like, "I just don't know that I could see that, like, living in my kitchen long term."
Yeah.
Because I think that's the hard part as we talk about all of these trends, I think we'll get there. Like, there's some things that are obviously easier to change than others, right? So it's like, maybe
Mhm.
there are some places we wanna be a little bit more traditional versus taking a risk, right?
Yeah, and I think it depends, like, how long are you gonna be in that home? Do you wanna have to replace the countertops again in 5 years? You know, that sort of thing, but there's also people that just like to have fun with it.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I mean,
that would be an
it's
example of that for sure.
at the end of the day, it's your home, so it's always like you live in
Yeah,
that tension of like make it your home and make it yours, but also plan accordingly for the future. What
yep,
about like
and
so talk?
well, I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, speaking of colors, because we just brought up green, and I said warm neutrals earlier, but there are colors that are still popular within this realm of warm neutrals. I'm seeing like greens, like dark
Mhm.
greens, dark blues, and deep reds
Yeah,
are the three colors that I'm seeing are the
really.
most popular right now when you're doing color.
Like, what are people doing with the deep red? Because that's an interesting one for me.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing a lot of that now, and in a similar way that I'm using
Huh,
the green back here, where they're doing it on trim, on doors, on walls, like a whole room of it,
really?
which is something that we actually saw, I feel like 20-ish years ago, we saw a lot of that, and it's coming back.
Okay, accent wall. So we're gonna talk about walls and light fixtures. Accent walls, in or out?
Accent walls and oh, one more on countertops is black quartz with white veining, like soapstone
Yes.
style. But going back to what did you ask?
Oh, I asked about, accent walls, but I kinda we gotta talk about light fixtures and wall moldings too.
Oh, and
So
tile.
oh, I forgot about
We got
tile.
a whole category here we missed. So,
Alright, let's go back to
with
tile, and then
with
we can talk about
tile,
accent
especially
walls.
while we're just talking about countertops, Zellage tile, which is kind of like a handmade wavy. There's a lot of variation between
Mhm.
tile to tile, so it's a very natural, organic, handmade look. Is very very popular, and I'm even seeing builders offering tile like this, even at a lower price point.
Yeah.
So that's something if you're getting to pick your own design to look out for. We're also seeing like cross and star tile, which may or may not be available if you're building
I feel
at
like that's a
a
big
lower
laundry
price
room
point.
thing, right?
Yeah, it's really big in the laundry room. Picket tile, harlequin, or like checkered diamond floor tile, which is something that I
Mhm.
really like the look of, but I feel like it is going to age quickly. Like it'll be a really
Mm.
big indicator, like, oh, you redesigned in the 2020s, didn't you? When you see that in the future. If you're going builder grade, I would say go with something that's a light, warm, kind of sandstony look tile. I think is
Yeah.
a good option as far as what the builder has to offer typically.
And so
Um,
I think there's 2 different parts of the tile thing, right? So, like, we're talking floor tile, but we're also talking, like, kitchen backsplash. If
mhm.
here's my
Zellage
thing,
would
'cause
be
I've
more
seen a
backsplash.
yep, but I've seen a
Mhm.
handful of builders that are taking, like, 12 by 12 floor tile and putting it on the back wall in the kitchen, and I'm not a fan. Like,
I'm not
I
either. It's often just like the standard option that's available.
yep,
I would only go that route if you're planning on picking your own tile after that you just really love and you wanna go
yep.
with, then go with a standard tile, rip it out, and do your own later.
What do you think about so I've seen a lot of people that not necessarily like upgrade to a bigger like I think the size of tile is important, right? So if you go from like a 12 by 12 to like a 12 by 24 or 12 by 18, like that changes a lot too, doesn't it?
It does, like, for your floor tile, a 12 by 12 is
Mhm.
usually going to be the standard size. It looks a little bit cheap, it looks a little bit builder grade, so if you can spend a little bit more on upping that size to a 12 by 24 or an 18 by 18, that larger scale does feel more expensive.
Yeah. That's and then so like and then same thing in those bathrooms. We're seeing a lot of people, at least I'm seeing a lot of people like carry tile up the wall, like fully enclose the shower kind of thing and like go to the ceiling.
Yeah, I do like tile when you are able to go floor to ceiling, that does feel more expensive to me. It's not always going to be an option with the builder, but
Right.
it is a nice touch if it's offered. And like continuing on in bathrooms, this is less of a builder thing and more of after the fact. One of the
Mm.
biggest things that you can do to upgrade the look of your bathroom is actually on the floor. It's your bathroom rug. So you don't have to go with the
Huh.
typical like Target fuzzy bath rug. You
But I
can
love the
get
Target fuzzy bath rug.
they're nice and cozy, but they feel a little bit basic. So if you do want to upgrade your bathroom, because this is an area where we're not putting a lot of furniture, so there's usually not a ton to work with in there in terms of jazzing up the design. So if you can put
Mhm.
like a pretty, maybe like a vintage style runner in there, which you can get pretty affordably on Amazon. Loloy is a brand that I love for these rugs that you're not going to worry about damaging them because they're not really vintage, but it really dresses up the look of a otherwise plain bathroom.
Huh. Okay. I guess I need
Now
to
you know.
go, I would get rid of my Target rug because man.
And again, this is not to make you get rid of stuff that you already have that you like, but if you're feeling inspired and you wanna have fun with it, go for it.
Okay, so what do you think about primary versus secondary bathroom? Like design different, design similar, design in the same family? What do you think?
So, same family, at least. And honestly, you're not dealing with a ton of square footage in the secondary bathrooms usually. So, I'd say
Hmm.
don't be afraid of putting the same upgraded tile that you put in your master. It's
Yeah.
usually going to be a pretty affordable upgrade to do that. And it's annoying to have to change out tile later. So,
Yeah.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Trying to take that out. All right. Tell me about light fixtures. So we're talking, ceiling fans, sconces, what are we doing with that?
Chandeliers, pendant lights. Yeah.
Chandeliers.
So, the biggest style trend right now, I should have said this at the beginning, is more of a modern traditional look. So, the light fixtures are a great place to bring in that modern aspect to the more traditional style. So,
Hmm.
look for like clean lined fixtures that have vintage roots where you can tell that it's gotten inspiration from older styles, but it's more of a modern take on it. We're also looking for things like empire shades, pleated shades, fluted glass, milk glass. These are the elements that we're seeing that are really popular in light fixtures right now. And if the builder doesn't have those light fixtures that really speak to you, go standard, swap them later. That's a super easy swap to make.
Yeah, because a lot of times, especially in those design centers, it's twofold. A, they're hyper limited on their selections, and B, they're
Mhm.
hyper proud, which means they're going to charge you a ton. So unless they just
Yeah.
have one that you absolutely love, like you're much better off taking whatever they give you, and then finding it on wherever you want to find it, Amazon, Wayfair, uh, whatever else Megan
Yep.
recommends, because I don't have
No,
lighting.
I love Amazon. I get a lot of stuff on Amazon. But honestly, another thing too is that builders can be kind of slow to change. And
Hmm.
design can take a while to trickle down. So
Hmm.
it might be a while before the builder starts to offer things that are really, really like on trend in the moment for that year. The design options that they offer might be a few years old or older.
Well,
I've
or
seen some
older.
builders that are about a
No,
decade
we could.
behind.
Oh, easily. And then there's some builders now that are like pushing the envelope on like some really modern stuff. Um,
Mhm.
Trophy is one of those ones that comes to mind for me of like some
Yeah.
of the stuff they're doing is very um, modern. So
Yep.
it's a choice. I mean, it's not I don't think it's bad. I think it's just fine. That's why you have so many opportunities.
Yep.
Okay, I'm looking at our notes, and you've got wall moldings. So, like, we
Yes.
talking? This is not a wallpaper, right? We're not doing that.
Not yet. We'll get to that. But wall
Ooh,
moldings are a really, really popular thing. You brought up accent walls. We're not really
yep.
seeing as much where you just have like one wall that's painted. We're seeing like whole room moldings or even just an accent wall of moldings. Like this one behind me is just that one wall. But we're seeing like box molding is very popular. Shiplap actually hasn't gone away, it's just gone
Mm.
vertical.
Oh,
So we're seeing some vertical shiplap painted, of course. The tonal look really modernizes something that's very classic.
hmm.
And that's where you paint your walls and trim and doors all the same color, sometimes even the ceiling.
Okay, so painted ceilings are interesting. An interesting thought for me because I've always like what little bit I've heard people talk about is like that makes a room feel smaller. Is that not true?
So, not necessarily. People have always said that about dark paint as well. Like, oh, dark colors can make a room feel smaller, but they can also make it feel like, a cave is dark and it feels big, right? So,
Yeah.
the space is dark and it feels big, so it can actually create a feeling of more space. It doesn't have to make it look smaller, and where you put
Okay.
the paint can really have an impact. So, for instance, I've seen one model home where they did a strip of paint behind the bed and they carried that strip all the way up onto the ceiling and the opposite wall as well, I believe. And it really
Huh.
made your eye go all the way up and it made the room feel taller and bigger.
Okay. I think I want to paint our doors black. I just don't know that I want to commit to it yet. Like I see a lot of people
Yeah, it's
do
a big
that and I'm like,
commitment.
I'm like, I don't know that I'm committing to that. So vertical shiplap. That was my takeaway. Was okay, if we're gonna shiplap it, we got to roll it vertically, right?
Yeah. Some like honorable mentions here that aren't necessarily moldings, but are similar vein, and that would be like faux wood beams are everywhere. Wood beams are
Hmm.
everywhere. I love them. I want to add them in my house. I just haven't gotten around to it. And then lime wash is really popular as well. So lime
Okay.
wash gives you that really kind of classic soft look.
How do you do a lime wash? Like what is that process? Do you know?
So lime wash, it's kind of expensive. It comes in a big bucket and a large brush, and you have to apply it using a crosshatch pattern. And yeah, there's all sorts of tutorials out there on how to do it, but it creates this kind of old world plaster look. It's funny, like we brought
Mm,
up the Tuscan aesthetic earlier, and I feel like there's an element of that in today's design trends. I mean,
yeah.
trends usually go in 20-year cycles, so we're right on time for that. So we are seeing elements of that. It's just not quite as dark and tan. And
Mm.
roosters are not involved at all.
Roosters and chili peppers are not part of this one.
No.
That's That's a good thing. Uh, what about like? So there was a time when everybody wanted like a well, I don't know what to call it, so I'm going to call it a collage. And then we're talking artwork, right? So it's like where you
Yes,
have
gallery
like,
wall.
thank you. That's see, you
Mhm.
you know what I'm talking about. I like collage. We're going to go with that. What are we doing in terms of like things on walls, artwork, stuff like that?
Yeah, gallery walls have not gone away. They're still popular, but I'd say like what the art actually is has changed a little bit. So what I'm seeing a lot of is like vintage oil paintings, sketches,
Hmm.
lithographs, landscapes. Tapestries are really in right now as well. And if you can't get the actual like vintage rug tapestry, there's a lot of like paper prints that kind of look like a tapestry. So that's something we're going like think like English country house.
Mm. I'm I'm really into sports memorabilia. That's my
Mhm.
wall decor, as you can kind of tell behind me. That
There you
that's what
go.
I prefer.
That works.
Sports but tapestries are cool too. I actually have a oil painting commission for all of my clients that close a house. It's a picture of me. I expect that it gets hung above their mantle. Nobody's actually
So
taken
like
me up on
Henry
that yet.
VIII style.
Yes, like very very cavalier. Nobody's actually taken me up on that yet, so maybe one of these days.
I feel like I need to have that like photoshopped on Fiverr or something
Yeah.
now, and I'm gonna
Oh, yeah.
that'll be
I
your
feel like
gift, your Christmas gift.
no, thank you. Uh, so artwork. So you talk tapestry. So what about like rugs? Are we covering floors? Are we not covering floors? Are we covering
Yes.
carpet?
Yeah, you can. Like, you can put rugs anywhere. I mean, a lot of people feel like you can only do rugs on hard floors, but you can do it on carpet. If you've got boring builder grade carpet and you want the room to feel more cozy and luxurious, you can put a rug in there for sure. That like vintage Turkish style rug is very popular right now. And it doesn't have to be super expensive. It doesn't have to really be vintage. Like I said, Loloy rugs, they do big area rugs as well at an affordable price. Not sponsored. I just am obsessed. I have like 6 of their rugs in my house.
We should figure out how to
Um,
get you sponsored by them then.
right, right. I'm
I
available.
So rugs for me was one of those things like when I first became like an adult and was like living on my own. Those like
Mhm.
rugs were the things that I didn't realize that they were that expensive. Like, I mean, obviously there's affordable options, but even in the affordable side, like as you get bigger, they're still
Yeah,
not super like rugs and like couch pillows were like, why is this
yeah.
unnecessarily expensive? Um,
Well, just to give you reference, Loloy tends to be if you're looking like a 5 by 7 or 8 by 10, you might be spending 100, $200. And then for a larger, like the 9 by 14 that I have in my living room was about 300. And that felt like a splurge to me. But if you're getting to like really nice, expensive rugs, you can easily spend 600 plus on a
which
large scale
again
rug like that.
is as a guy, like that's just wild to me. Like I mean, it is what it is. I just every time I think about that, I'm like $600 on a rug, but whatever.
Yep.
Everybody
Yep.
spends their money differently.
They
What
do.
about
We're also
like
seeing like diamond checker rugs are popular and
really?
geometric rugs with like straight lines, kind of inspired by plaid. We're seeing a lot of.
Okay, what about like plants? You know, there was a season when everybody had vines on top of their cabinets, right? It's part of that Tuscan thing, and or
Yep, yep.
grapefruits, or and then we kind of went away from that, and then
Ivy.
like yeah, then we did ivy. And so what are we doing with plants? Are we doing real plants? Are we doing fake plants? What's happening there?
Yeah, if you can keep real plants alive, go for it. My husband can, which I'm jealous of. So we have some house
I
plants
cannot.
that I enjoy, but if you can't, and no shame in that, olive trees are really like the reigning faux tree right now. They've been popular for a couple years, and I'm still seeing a lot of olive trees, especially in
Yep.
like big ceramic, like earthenware pottery style vases. As the the thing under them, the container.
The
And
vase. No, it's not
then
a vase. It's a
yeah, the vase. And
yeah.
also as far as like smaller, if you're putting on like your kitchen table or a bookshelf or your kitchen island, I'm seeing a lot of those earthenware vases, pottery style ceramic, with large stems or branches. Is what I'm seeing
Mm,
a lot of. We can still do like fresh cut flowers, especially it's spring. It's nice, some hydrangeas or some peonies or something like that. But as far as like floral arrangements, we're mainly seeing greenery.
yeah. What's it like a fit? Is a fiddle leaf?
Fiddly fig. So that was something that
Yeah,
was really
we have like
popular in
three
the
of those.
20 teens. You kept them alive or are
No,
they
they're like
faux?
we have fake ones. I can't keep
Okay, yeah,
alive.
because 'cause they're so hard to keep alive. But that
Yeah.
was really popular in the 20 teens when, like, mid-century was really popular. Monsteras as
Mhm.
well were, like, the big fiddly fig and monsteras were the big plants of the 20 teens. Again, if you still have them and you still like them, awesome. It's just not something that I would say is, like, on trend anymore.
Yeah. So olive trees and but not vineyard. That's a
No.
disappointment. Uh what about I've seen a couple people recently that like on into so I kind of mentioned earlier wallpaper. Like but like a textured
Mhm.
wallpaper, like I've seen some velvet like some like velvety felts that which is kind of weird, but it looked really cool in that space. What are we doing on with fabrics?
Yes, wallpaper is definitely back. If we're talking wallpaper specifically, like floral wallpapers are very popular. I'm seeing plaid, I'm seeing murals. So, kind of tying back into that tapestry, like a mural wallpaper, like whole room with like dark green trim. That's something that I'm seeing a lot of that's very popular right now. As far as fabrics themselves, in terms of like furniture, upholstery, curtains, pillows, we're seeing a lot of linen, we're
Mm,
seeing velvet, we're seeing plaid, we're seeing ticking stripes, and also like really chunky woven texture. That's a way that you can get life into a room that is mostly neutral is
mm.
through texture. So you can do that with like baskets, you can do it with woven blankets, you can do it with your fabrics. So just something to bring a little bit of depth and dimension in life and coziness back into a room that is mostly neutral is how it's done now if you're doing that style.
Awesome. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I think that's a lot. There's a lot going on, and so yeah, like we've talked about, you've got to find the balance of what fits your style versus and what fits your budget and what fits your lifestyle, and what fit like what's going to resell. Maybe purple granite countertops are not going to. I'm just putting that out there, but there might be somebody.
Yep. And, like, just to bring up some honorable mentions, so, like, what we talked about today was mostly modern, traditional, and there's also a style that I almost went with for this house that is really popular as well, that's more of a modern organic. It's a little bit more
Mm,
minimalist, very kinda California vibes, and I really like that too. There's also maximalist style, which is kind of a reaction to minimalism, and that's just going
yep.
all out with color and pattern and just really going for it. My ADHD could never. Like it's too maybe it's my autism that that actually it just finds it too stimulating, but I love it for the people that love it. And like there's a particular kind of Gen Z style that's establishing itself, and they're basically taking anything bold and fun from the last 50 years that they like.
Yep.
And yeah, it's color, it's pattern, it's fun. So yeah, I love seeing people play with and experiment with design, and it doesn't have to follow what the mainstream is doing.
Yeah, and again, like we talked about before, like don't feel pressured to do one thing because you see somebody like live in your like you have kids, like your house is not going to look like a model home, right? I know everybody like we think like, oh, it's going to look like a model. You have to understand nobody actually lives in those houses. Like they work out of the garage and use the front bathroom. That's it, right? Like
Mhm.
nobody's living there and functioning as a family. And so, you know what, your house may be a little chaotic, and that's okay. Like I'll give you credit for that. Like make it your own, make it a home. Yeah, but do some fun things along the way um, for design. And this is what I would say. Like I guess I guess speak to myself. Like husbands, when your wife wants to change the design, just roll with it. Like just be like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. Makes her
Yep,
happy.
my husband's the same way. He's like, "Wait, it's already done." And I'm like, "No, no, no."
My problem is like
We
I like the finish like I like once we do it, it's great. I just don't like the middle part where I have to pay for it, kind of thing. Like
Yeah, or like I do
that's
a
the
lot of
part.
DIY and it's like, yeah, I don't like living in mess and having to put the energy and time into that. So, yeah, there's definitely
Yeah.
financial
So
time and energy investment involved in design. So, yeah.
but I wanted to do want to give a pro tip, like, because I know a lot of people, you see model homes and you're like, oh my gosh, these are beautiful. This is great. Builders, they have obviously they have all of their designers. They sometimes they buy furniture, sometimes they rent furniture, but there's actually places where you can like buy furniture that was in model homes. There's a website. It's Builder Auction Company. So BA. Are you familiar with them?
I'm not, but I just being in the industry, I've gone to a lot of like model home auctions and I've gotten a
Yeah.
lot of furniture, rugs, like you can get stuff really cheap. I got a really nice, like probably $700 dresser brand new for 100 bucks. So
Yeah.
it's a
So like
great way to get designer
So if
pieces
you
for less.
so yeah, beauctions.com. So builder auction company. They're local here in Dallas. They do a lot of like I guess consignment is the word from model homes because sometimes builders move furniture from place to place. Sometimes they just let it go and gets sold. So yeah, great place to look if you're like, oh, I saw something specific. Also, if you ever find yourself in the like in a space where the builder is closing out their model, whether they're done in that community or they're trying to build another model, like, and they're selling their model home, that furniture is usually negotiable, right? Like
Mhm.
I've seen plenty of times that builders are like, well, we don't want to mess with moving this. Like we'll sell it with everything in here for, give us a price. So if you're like, oh, we just want all of this stuff, those are options too. So don't like it
Yep.
happens.
We had a family friend growing up that did that, bought a model home with all the furniture included, like everything. So that's a nice way to like not have to pay for a designer and you usually get everything at a lower price than you would otherwise because it has been used a little bit. Another pro tip, if you're out walking models and you see something that you just really love, like a piece of furniture or a light fixture, the Google Photos app, which you can get
Yep.
on iPhone as well as Android. Take a picture of it, and there's a little feature called Google Lens, where if you hit that button, it will search the internet for that exact item. And beyond that, because like I said, usually it's kind of expensive. What gets put in models, it'll show you lookalikes as well. So if you're
Ooh.
like, oh, I love this table, but I don't want to spend 1,100 bucks on it, then you can find one that looks similar for 200. So that's
Yeah.
another tip that I always give people
Hey,
when
that
you're
that that I
out
did
house
not.
hunting.
I will have to download the Google Images app. I didn't know that was a thing. So
Google
that was
Photos,
helpful.
yep,
Google
and
Photos.
it's
Okay.
free.
There we go. All right, let's wrap up with this thought, and I'm curious because you're probably where do you see us going? So we were recording this the other day, and you said to me, or no, we were having a conversation, and you said to me, "Hey, we're almost halfway through the decade," and that like shook me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're like almost halfway through the 20s. Where do you see us going? Like, give us Megan's predictions on design for the rest of the decade."
Yeah. So like I said, I am seeing wood paneling come back of all things. I'm seeing because the way the trend cycle works is typically you see things come back in style every 20 years. Social media is kind of dismantling that traditional structure. I'd say
Yep.
we're now seeing things that are 10 to 30 years old coming back in style. So that's kind of crazy to think about that we can be spanning like 3 decades of inspiration that we're pulling from at any one time. I'm seeing a lot of like micro aesthetics from the early 2000s that are
Mm.
coming back in style. That might be a little hard to describe with just words, but I think we're going to see more of that. What was popular in the 2000s starting to come back, just like it is in fashion.
Yeah. No, some of the things I've seen in fashion don't like I don't understand any of it. I'm like, I'm just gonna wear shorts and t-shirts and call it good. Like
Yep.
just leave me be.
It's all
I'm
fun.
so
Just
simple.
do what feels good.
Yeah, do what makes you happy. So, Megan, you gave man, this was good. We've got a lot, so this was super helpful. We didn't say it at the beginning, but we'll say it here now. Megan and I sell real estate here in DFW. Specifically, Megan covers a lot of the northern part of the metro. I cover a lot of the eastern part of the metroplex, but realistically, we cover the whole metroplex, right? And what we specialize in is new construction, whether it's buying or building. So if we can help you, our contact information is down below. Reach out. We would love to help, but we can't do anything unless you got to take that first step. So thanks for hanging out during our podcast today. We will see y'all guys next time. So bye, Megan.
Bye.